Hello and welcome to Point of View, where we share the stories of notable Pittsburghers from their point of view. Chase of Chase and the Barrons is a local Pittsburgh band known for their funky and creative music style. The band was one of the first ever Pioneer stars in collaboration with Pioneer Records. And the guy who the band was named after, Chase Barron, is in the studio. This is POV. Thanks for streaming with us. I'm Joe Musser. Joining us in the studio today is Chase Barron. Welcome, Chase.
Hi, Jill. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
What do you think of being in the new CMI?
Yeah, it's really awesome. This is like shocking to me. I was in the old one before. I was a student here. I do work here, and the old CMI was awesome. But like this new location on the corner is really cool. This is a really professional setup here. So yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited you could join us today. I'm going to ask you just a couple questions about you and your music career, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you learned how to play the piano at an early age, but your interest for the guitar grew through Guitar Hero 2, the video game. How did that transfer into becoming a musician?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you did do the deep dive. Yeah, you warned me that there was a deep dive. Piano was definitely a big starting point, and that's like, I feel like that's important to know. Your piano, that's like your roadmap for all the music, and like that's the instrument that like when you're young, your parents are gonna try to tell you to do music, and they're gonna say like, do piano, save the electric guitar for later. But entryway from the gateway from piano to electric guitar was definitely Guitar Hero for me. That was a birthday gift at a young age, and it actually went out of control where like maybe around the age of 9 or 10, I got Guitar Hero, and I just became obsessed. Like I would play it like before school in the morning. Like I was absolutely wild, and my parents, like, I don't know why they let me play so much. Like it would be like 4 hours a night, and I ended up competing, and I would compete like locally. I would compete all over Pennsylvania. I wound up being like top 10 in the world on quite a few songs. Yeah, no, it's really wild, and like I think that was the first time I was like, if you just do something and work harder than anybody else is willing to work, even if it's something as stupid as Guitar Hero, you can really excel at it. It's like, get a vision and then just like put in more work than anyone else. And I was like, well, if it worked with Guitar Hero, that was an easy way to transition, even with my parents to being like, hey, like, I think you guys could buy me a guitar now. And maybe I'll take that more seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong, the piano was fun, but like if they see you playing Freebird at a contest, 2 hours away from your hometown competing against like adults in Guitar Hero, your parents are a little more lenient and welcome to, bring you into that electric guitar rock and roll world. So
was that your Guitar Hero song?
There were a lot of Guitar Hero songs, but that was one of them. That was one of them.
Mine was Cliffs of Dover.
Oh yeah,
that was my favorite. Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah, that's a classic too. Cliffs of Dover is a song that there might be a video online. I 100%ed that one on Expert at one point, and I got it filmed. I remember my dad was like filming me with his old like VHS camera. We did like 10 takes in a row. It was horrible. But yeah, that's a classic. You got a good taste in music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Chase and the Barrons' first EP, Propose a Toaster, was released in 2017, but your first performance was New Year's Eve 2015. Can you tell me about the formation of the band and what led to you guys to make music together?
Oh yeah, 2015. I wouldn't have known the year had you not said it. I knew it was New Year's Eve. I don't even know if we had a band name at that point. I came to Point Park in 2014, and I actually met the drummer, Jake Stretch, who is like a lifelong, just great friend, like one of the best people in the world, best friend I could ask for. And immediately we met on like the Pioneer Experience Day. It wasn't even Point Park yet. Like I was wearing a Bob Marley hoodie, and he just walked up to me and he's like, hey, you like music? And I was like, kinda. At that point, I had already been playing guitar for many years and like recording my own albums on my own. Like I thought I was like really, like I thought it was hot stuff. I was really into it. And then I start hanging out with Jake Stretch, and turns out he is way more into music professionally than I am. Like he has a legitimate studio in his basement with like soundproofing walls. Like, yeah, and he's playing music with kids and adults that are like legit musicians. And I'm like, damn, I'm like, you're a big fish in a small sea in a small town. I grew up in DuBois, Pennsylvania. And then you move to Pittsburgh and it's like, wow, now I'm like surrounded by all of the great musicians, which was amazing. So as soon as I could, like, I started spending like every weekend. I was living on campus here, but like every weekend I'd be sleeping at Jake's house and we'd be playing music all weekend. And like we never really said like, hey, we are a band, but we just had a group of guys that continued to play and continued to have fun. And like my buddy down the street was having a New Year's Eve party, and one thing led to another. We played that, and then from there we played more shows, and slowly Chasing the Barons was formed. I didn't come up with the name though. You know, they kind of had that idea.
So it wasn't, you didn't come up with the name, they did?
Yeah. So the rest of the guys came up with the name. We were, from the start, it was like the same crew, me, Jake on the drums, Mike on lead guitar, another Jake on bass, Jake and Jake, and then Tyler on the sax. And from like, I don't know, they casually decided like, you know, the Barron, your last name is really good. Like we could be like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. But, you know, Barons, that's a good word. How about we just do Chasing the Barons? And I was like, well, if you insist. And then, yeah.
So the band started out just a couple of guys who just jammed in the basement.
Yeah, we jammed in the basement a lot. Like, we probably jammed in the basement. And I've been in I was in a lot of bands before this, and like I thought I was in bands. But like, the cool thing about it was like, we were just kind of jamming, having fun more frequently than like a normal band would practice. You know, it's just like, it was just kind of birthed out of a pure love for music. It wasn't like aspirational. And then it quickly became aspirational once we decided to like start playing shows every week, you know. But, you know, there's something really pure about it not being aspirational. Like that I wish that we could have kept. Yeah, but it was just like purely a fun thing.
Was it like at all overwhelming, like juggling the band, producing music, performing like gigs, and working towards a college degree?
Oh yeah, that it was a whole lot. You know, I'm in a master's program now, and I work full time, and I have like a wife and a dog, and like life should like don't get me wrong, life is busy now, but like when we were in the heat of the band, like I don't know if I will ever encounter a crazier lifestyle. You know, we were recording as much as we could, but on top of that, there were like 2 years in a row where we played like 100 shows a year, which is like 2 a week. And then there's some weeks where you don't. So like some weeks we're playing like 3 or 4 shows, and yeah, juggling that was insane. Sleep, not a lot of sleep. Like health definitely going by the wayside for like all of us, especially like we were an alternative rock fun party band. Like we were getting booked at bars, we were getting booked at parties. Like, you know, if someone was having a birthday party, like they knew us, they were calling us, and, you know, we were getting paid and, you know, free food and drinks sometimes, and that was great. But it was, you know what, it was really hard to juggle. It was a little overwhelming, but it was so fun. And there's like an energy to that. It's like when you're going 100 miles per hour, it's almost really easy to get everything done, because like there's no other time to do your homework than Thursday at like 3:30 p.m. And it's like, well, that's my only option, I'm doing it. Whereas like if you have an open palette, like you might put things off just because you're having fun. And like I was having fun doing work, which was really nice.
Yeah. So this band has received positive press all over, from the Pittsburgh City paper to getting a feature from WQED. You even performed live on KDKA's morning show. Did you ever feel like a local celebrity?
A little, I don't know. A local celebrity, I don't know if I'll ever feel like a celebrity. There are times when, you know, you do sometimes get recognized. I will say that. And at the height of it, yeah, we had like earned a place in local music, which was cool. I think, if anything, for lack of a better word, you feel like kind of like you're popular in the music community, and you know, people, it's almost like you're just lucky to have a ton of friends in music. Like there was a time, and I would love to, I mean, we'll see if we ever get back to this. I mean, foreshadowing. But like a time when you just kind of know every local band. It's a whole lot of fun. So local celebrity, maybe not, but like big advocate of the local music scene, embedded in it, loving it. Yeah, for sure.
Have you visited a lot of local bands around the Pittsburgh area recently?
Not enough recently. A handful. There's a really cool band called The Living Street that I've been catching a lot. They live up in Mount Washington, so they're kind of like almost neighbors to me, and I try to catch them everywhere I can. And then, strangely, there's this dude called Norm Nardini who's like in his 70s, and he plays like punk rock music. And, that's a show. I try to catch him wherever I can. It's absolutely wild.
So Live Wire Bed Fire was your first ever album. Can you tell me about how it felt when you finally got that released?
Yeah, that was our first major produced album. And we worked with the incredible Jesse Noss over at Red Cayman Studios.
Oh, Jesse,
Yeah. So, recording that was a whole lot of fun. Putting it out was kind of like didn't feel real. It was so I interned with Jesse for a while. My band has recorded other stuff with Jesse individually and together. Our sax player interned and worked with him. He went to Duquesne, so like we all knew Jesse well. And recording there was like a dream. It was so fun. We were there every day for a couple weeks, and like literally we'd get there in the morning, make coffee, hang out. Like I'd never laughed harder recording music than that whole recording process. It was amazing. The fact that, it felt really fulfilling to finally release the album. The thing that was really cool is that we funded that album 100% through playing gigs over the past year. So like, that's why we had to play, 100 gigs a year for 2 years, because it's like all of this money is going towards this album. And just the fact that like when it comes out and you like reflect on how much work you put into it, it's really cool. And the fact that it was like really fun to do as well. Felt great.
So you were one of the first Pioneer stars. Can you tell me a bit about that process?
Yeah. I guess I sent a couple of songs and demos into the Pioneer star selection process. Some of which included the Chase and the Barons band, whether or not I think we were called Chase and the Barons at the time. And some of the songs were also just like my own acoustic things. Like I was kind of doing like Jack Johnson-y, John Mayer-y stuff on my own. So like I sent all that music in, tons of music, and they were probably like, what the heck, this is way more than we asked for. And it was weird. We had like to go through a process of like listening to all these different types of music and being like, what even is this gonna be? Because like it could be rock and roll, or it could be like John Mayer-y singer-songwriter. So yeah, I mean, granted, it was awesome to be chosen. Like I felt super lucky and grateful for that. And then getting to work with students who want to make this their career, and like having for the first time in my life like other people have opinions other than like sounds good. That was neat.
So what went through your head the day you got the call from Point Park asking you to bring the band back for SAM's anniversary last April?
Oh yeah. You know what? We haven't played since 2019. Shortly after our album released, honestly, we played a couple more gigs and like slowly stopped playing gigs, and then the pandemic hit soon after, and it just boom, everyone got real jobs and lives. So yeah, we hadn't really considered playing. We had considered it, but no one had ever just been like, hey, this is a gig on a real stage with good sound that you don't have to organize. And I was like, well, this requires very little on our part. Heck yeah. So it was just a good excuse to get the band together. And, like Ed Traversary reaches out to you, and, when Ed gives you a call, like you almost can't say no. So yeah, it felt right. It just felt right.
So Chase and the Barons are famous for Converse and colorful clothing. What made you choose that aesthetic in Brandon?
Oh yeah. There you go. Converse. They're on now. So we're an alternative rock band. We jump around. We're pretty crazy. The Converse made a lot of sense just because they are a fantastic shoe.
They really are. are.
Yeah, like you can wear these all day, you can run around, you can lug your heavy gear around, and you can jump around on stage and your feet are gonna be fine. We've played outdoor gigs when it's like been like semi-raining and like no one ever slips in Converse. I've had issues in other bands with like worse shoes. So Converse are like a no-brainer, and it was just a brand thing. It was, people see us, we're the guys in Converse. It's easy to find your bandmates, especially if all of your Converse are like bright colors. Like it just makes us stand out. And then we had like an aesthetic that was retro and groovy. And honestly, the mastermind behind the way we dressed was Jake, the drummer. Like he kind of had the idea, and over time it just kind of morphed. And at the start it was like maybe we wear bright colors, and then like it just kept getting wilder. It just like to the point where like I bought like rainbow shirts and stuff. I was like, it started paisley and colorful, and it just progressed. And then I think it got more refined. I think after a while we reined it back in.
Speaking more on branding, bands tend to have a certain symbol that stands for their message and their music. How did you decide on Chasing the Barons being represented by a sock monkey?
Yeah, that's Tito. That's our boy Tito. And kind of like a lot of this band, in being a musician, like sticking to just like letting the truth come out, and just not really, we didn't really think too much about it. So the sock monkey was just, I think it might have been our first show. I just like had this little thing and I set it on my guitar amp. I'm like, that looks cool. And then it was another thing where it's just like every show he just kept popping up and he just kept putting him in the amp. And it's like this sock monkey has seen like hundreds and hundreds of shows. He's been all over the Northeast to different colleges and bars and stuff. I mean, he's been ride or die. So like it's only right that he gets a spot at the table,
So you've performed all over Pittsburgh, and of course, as you just said, the Northeast. But what does this city mean to you?
Oh man, Pittsburgh is amazing. It's where, it's where my life dramatically changed from like being, a small town, well-known small town musician to like small fish in a big sea in Pittsburgh. And like it redefines, when you get to a city, it kind of redefines what work means to you and what it means to thrive, what it means to be part of a community, because it's just a much bigger thing than a small town. Don't get me wrong, Pittsburgh is, to me, it feels like the small town of cities. Like I go to New York or something and I'm like, immediately I feel like overwhelmed. This feels like the perfect balance of like, yes, you can participate in the local scene, but you're going to be challenged. It's not like you're in the country anymore. This is so yeah, it's just kind of like a launching point for like the next phase of my life, Yeah.
Do you have a personal favorite out of all your songs?
Ooh, I think it changes every week. I think it's whatever is the song that we made last. Like I would say my favorite songs are songs that I'm currently working on,
I know my personal favorite song is A Day Off / Treehouse, because that's what you performed at the Stage AE last. And I was like, who are these guys? And it was like so good. And I was like, why did you pick a treehouse? Like, what is the importance of the treehouse?
Yeah, see, I don't even know if I picked the treehouse or if the treehouse picked me in the songwriting process. It's kind of like Tito. The things just emerge. Jake has a treehouse, I will say, at the house that we were practiced at in the basement, the studio and everything. He's got the home studio and everything. He did have a treehouse out back. Now, we didn't spend a lot of time in it, but there was always this kind of dream of like when we were in the band, we were playing so much and rehearsing so much. We were very busy. And you asked if I was overwhelmed earlier. Like that's why I needed a day off. And there was always just some vision of like, if we could just get away from the busyness of all this and like go somewhere into the woods, into like an imaginary place and just like be kids again and like get away from the obligations. If you listen to the album, there's a lot of stuff about obligations, yeah, there was just like kind of a vision, a place that we wanted to be. We actually didn't spend a lot of time in tree houses.
You can tell that in the song because you just wanted to hang out in the treehouse. You didn't have the time though.
Yeah, I know. We never had the time for the treehouse, but maybe now. Maybe I'll have to call the guys. We can plan a getaway. Yeah.
You have a dream, but you also need to pay the bills. What's it like choosing between a music career and your full-time job?
Oh, that's the hardest thing in the world. Right now the full-time job makes a lot of sense. I'm pursuing a master's degree, and honestly, after the band, all of us, because we worked so hard, like all of us really transitioned into getting jobs and establishing lives outside of music because we kind of needed a break. But after a couple years, like we're all starting to get that itch again of like, so I really, this question, ask me in a year. Like, I really don't know because we're starting to play music in some capacity, and it's I don't know how to answer that question. We'll see. Yeah, we'll reconnect. We'll touch base again in a
Which
year.
kind of leads into my next question. Can we expect anything new from you in the future? Is that another in a year question?
That might be. I don't think you can expect anything from Chase and the Barons. I think we made an album that we're all really proud of, and we had experiences that were that era of our lives. I think Chase and the Barons is what it is, was what it will be, and we'll have that legacy. Unless, God forbid, someone asks us to do another reunion show where we put on the ties and do Chase and the Barons music. But I think moving forward, there's something new brewing, and like we did with the band, I'm just gonna let it become what it's gonna become. Whether it means we do it semi-professionally or not, we'll see.
Will you apply to the Pioneer Star competition?
Yeah. I don't have much time. I'm gonna graduate soon, so we'll see.
Is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers?
Just if you're interested in music and you're doing music, the most important thing is to enjoy it. The reason that we've kind of taken a break is we did it too hard and too focused and we've got a little burnt out on it. We worked too hard. I think 100 shows a year is too much, unless you don't have a day job in a college. If you're just doing music, yeah, that might make sense. But yeah, I'd say if you're living a life where music sounds good, you're doing it right. And we're getting back to that. So, yeah.
Well, Chase, thanks for this great chat.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me.
So I see you brought your guitar with you. Would you mind playing us a song? Performing live, Treehouse, A Day Off. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is Chase of Chase and the Barons.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll play this one as per request. And usually I have a band to say yeah. So I think people in the sound room and you watching at home, you got to say yeah on cue. And I guess I'll whistle the saxophone parts. Here we go. Picking up the laundry, going to the show, making lots of money, oh blah-dee-blah-do. Running races till the end of our days. The finish line we're chasing keeps on racing away. I say yeah, yeah, say yeah, yeah. Cooking in the kitchen, showing up on time, drinking on the weekend, sometimes every night. I just want a day off. Say yeah, yeah, say yeah, yeah. Making aspirations, try to stay on track. Taking lots of aspirin for your back. I just want a day off, so we can hang out in my tree house. Say yeah. We can hang out in my tree house. Say yeah. We'll get away from the businesses and shopping malls. We'll get away, take no buses, take no business calls. We'll get away, don't you worry about the bugs or the bees or the bears. advice while you're here in my tree. Just say yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah. Say yeah, say yeah. I just want a day off so we can hang out in my tree house. Say yeah, yeah. We can hang out in my tree house. Say yes.
Chase, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your journey and music career.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for streaming with us. Our show is produced here at the CMI with thanks from our partners at UView Television and the Point Park News Service. I'm Joe Musser. We hope to see you next time on POV.